Hi, everyone. This is episode 1 of People Call Me Will. I'm super excited because, as I just said, this is episode 1, and I just cannot wait to talk to you guys today. So please stay tuned for the rest of the episode. So, guys, like I just said, um, it is episode 1. I can't believe that the day is finally here. It feels really good. And one of the things that just has been replaying in my head and has been something that's just been on my mind for some time now is forgiveness, rekindling old relationships. Is it okay? Are grudges okay? Um, how do when is it okay to forgive someone? Is it normal to just all of that, right? Because I just feel that it's very important that we try to, try to save the bonds before we sever them. And I just think that in today's world or generation, whatever it is, um, I'm just seeing a lot of relationships just end, uh, sever. I'm just seeing so much about it, hearing so much about it, and seeing it like on social media. And it's sad because chances are becoming slimmer and slimmer and slimmer for just people in general in terms of even trying to form any type of a relationship. But I kind of want to share a little brief story, very, very brief, and you know, it's very relevant to this. I have a friend who, oh my gosh, long friendship. And, we went through it recently and we didn't talk for a long time. And we just recently just rekindled and it felt so right. It felt so right. And I felt after everything was said and done that a new beginning obviously is happening with us because that was a lot of time spent apart, and to just talk on the phone for hours and really catch up, it felt really good. And it was just so many different emotions I felt, and I always have hope with any of my relationships, whether they went bad or we just kind of drifted apart. I don't know. I wouldn't even call it second chances or giving another chance. It's just, can we fix this relationship? Can we fix it? Is it fixable? But if we're just disagreeing and not trying to, at least not trying to come to some type of a middle ground or an agreement where we can, still be okay, then, it's just, I don't know. It's sad when when I don't see I guess the fixing and hear about it. I don't think anyone really talks about fixing it. It's just so much. It's more of like this happened and then it's like done. Um, but again, this is just my perspective. This is just like my experience of what I've like heard and everything. So I don't want to take away someone's lived experience of where they've experienced like had something happen to them. I don't want to take that away from anyone, and I don't want to come off as if like we all have to just like forgive. I just think that before we allow this thing to settle, don't allow closure. Whether you amicably agree to end the friendship and be like, I'll see you, I hope you do well, that's different. But it's like when there are grudges and anger and sadness, when those feelings are associated with loose ends, it's such a crap. It's a shitty feeling. It's really terrible because it's like you're still angry. You still got some more fight in you, and it's just like to have all that pent in and just like wait for it to kind of just settle at the bottom of like your soul or at the pits. I'm thinking compared to like an ocean, like you're gonna let it go all the way down to the ocean and just settle. But I don't know, because this again is just my perspective about it. And rekindling with my friend, I was excited, like when we got on the phone, I was excited to hear her voice. I was excited to just like talk. I know you're mad at me, but like let's talk about it. Like let's talk about it. And I was like, we were both ready to talk, and it felt good. It felt right. It wasn't forced. I felt like I felt like I was talking to my 10-year-old best friend. So it was just a very, very good conversation. And while I'll admit, like, I'm someone who doesn't really hold a grudge, but I am sensitive and I do get emotional. So, I will get a little bit of a, trigger, or I still will think about it from time to time. But knowing that we are both willing to like work on our friendship, or, whether it be like a relationship, anything of that nature, it's just like we're trying, and we I hope we both want this to kind of like pan out and work out. Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of like holding grudges, even like in the workplace. If we have beef as like personal, I won't ever allow like business to get in the way. Like we have work to do. Like we have stuff we have to do. So I'm not going to allow like my relationships, like my personal life to conflict. But I find it like with seeing like just this climate that we're in, we're not really apologetic when necessary, and it's becoming like kind of overwhelming. Like I don't want to say apologetic, I take that back. Not taking accountability. The accountability aspect is kind of like missing from a lot of these conversations. And well, there usually aren't conversations, because it seems that people kind of don't even allow the conversation to happen anymore. It's more so like, oh, this happened and maybe something else and a few other things, and no, I'm done. And might I just add, like, this is like relationships I'm talking about. Like, there are obviously other forms of all types of just things that is a whole nother conversation. But I'm specifically talking about like very, like, I wouldn't go too deep into this topic in the sense of like certain things. Like obviously everyone's experience is different, but I'm just talking from a certain perspective that I hope that you're following. Yeah, so that is like kind of my idea of how relationships should work, or how I thought that I saw them or was raised seeing. In my own personal relationship, I try to do my best to communicate and just be the best like girlfriend that I can be, because I know that in some situations that I've been in, another person may have been like, no, I can't do this. And maybe for a guy too, for myself, they probably be like, oh no, I can't do that. Like, so the fact that we're like willing to work at it, and we're unlocking new parts of ourselves every time that something like that happens, and we learn about each other in a certain way, whether it's in your like a intimate relationship or a platonic, like a platonic friendship. I think that that's just important, and I think it's just something that needs to be like, I wish that was like talked about a little bit more. yeah, I don't know if it's just because, like, if you're into astrology, I'm an Aries. I am very, very kind of true to my sign in the sense that I'm pretty quick tempered. However, like, once I'm over it, I'm over it. Like, it's so bad, and I can tell, like, when I'm over it, and I know I've probably pissed off the other person. They're like, girl, no, like, I need a minute because you just did the most. And I'm just like, oh, sorry. Like, I truly be sorry, but it doesn't always come off like that. And that's the misunderstanding part of me to anybody who may be listening that knows me. Like, that's the part that gets misunderstood about me a lot, is that it's a complex of mine that I'm just embracing and being as apologetic as I can about it. And for anybody out there that may think that those cons or those bad qualities, quote unquote, I put air quotes around that, is what is holding you back. I think it's just about control and being able to know when it is enough and when you can't take anymore. That's the kind of boundary we have to make with ourselves. We can't really, I don't expect anybody to respect my boundaries, to be completely honest, just personally. Like, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I just have my own boundaries. Like, I'm not going to put up with certain things. I'm not going to expect, if I'm dealing with a rude person who I know is just going to not respect me or not give me what or, you know, talk to me how I deserve, then I'm just going to be like, I can no longer talk to you. I'm going to turn around. So if we're talking about, like, in that way, yes, boundaries, of course. But yes, just going back to some of the initial thoughts that I was having. One also being like resentment and grudges, and just when to know enough is kind of enough, or if you can keep it going. Can you really keep putting energy into that grudge? And again, disclaimer, I'm talking about like specific perspective, but can you really hold on to that thing and just allow your energy to be reserved for that one thing? I find it kind of exhausting. I'm not going to say I've never held a grudge or I've never felt a type of a way for a long period of time. Of course, like, I'm human. But once I get to talk to that person, or once I communicate my feelings about that thing, it's done. Like, I can't really go on too much about it. If I felt like my point has not been understood, or I just feel like there is just no understanding, of course I'm going to revisit the conversation. I'll be like, listen, I feel like there's some parts of that conversation that did not sit well with you. If there's still some type of beef, I want to talk about it. That's just the kind of person that I am when it comes to, like, resentment and grudges and things like that. Like, I don't want to hold on to something that can be fixed in a conversation, but at the same time, I won't allow myself to be disrespected either. And it's such a difficult balance to keep, because if you allow, like, one side to sink more than the other, it can just throw you off, and just, I feel like the bitterness kind of sets in, and being upset and not giving other people a chance. And I can attest, like, that I can speak to that, not giving other people a chance. So it's really important that with those complexes that I was talking about earlier, that some may think are like bad qualities, the bad parts of me, just embrace them as you would embrace your good side, but don't just control yourself. Don't act on it. You know that you have this type of of a temper, or you usually will react that way. Don't even allow it to get to the point, because then things just get out of control. And then things happen, words are exchanged, and now there's this issue, and not everybody can handle talking to somebody or trying to fix it. And I'm not saying that we should be seeking to fix the relationship, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, we had a fight and now we have to make up. I don't want to come off that way either, because it's like we don't have to kumbaya it. We don't have to hold hands at the end of the day, but I do think that we should hash out our differences if we can, and be able to move forward with no bad blood for the most part. We don't have to do that. And this conversation again is just so important to me, because my arms are always kind of open, and to know that this person that I cared a lot about was about to be we're never gonna talk again. It's sad to me, because time has passed, and we reflect, and we I hope work on ourselves. I hope we all are doing the work to improve ourselves, just whatever, grow. So if all this time has passed, what kind of conversation hurt? This is all of my perspective, by the way. If you completely disagree with me, please let me know. I want to hear what people who disagree with me say more than people who agree with me, to be honest, because I know I can be thinking so optimistically, so just far gone. And that's another little Aries trait of ours. We're very high-spirited, really optimistic people, really happy people, but just don't take us there, because we're childlike. When it comes to some of the not so fun traits. So that's kind of how I that's kind of what I wanted to present and talk about today. I think that this topic, this conversation, really needs to be in a lot more spaces. Familial relationships, friend relationships, and intimate. All of these ways of how we are intertwined, is communication, and talking about it is super important. Good times and the bad times. But that's what I have to say on the matter. I had a really good time talking about this. This was just in my head. It was just swirling, and I was thinking, this is it. This is what I want to present. I hope that you all could see my side of things. Again, I'm very, very interested to hear your opinion, feedback, and especially I want to hear my disagreeers. I love when people have very different opinions of me, or not of me, but of what I'm talking about. This is my perspective. These are through my experiences, through my lens. So I would definitely like to know what is it through your lens. So until next time, I will see you all later.